Hello friends and welcome to Figure Study, where we appreciate the form in Transformers. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Beast Wars Neo Big Convoy, which is basically the Beast Wars Neo version of Optimus Prime. I don't know offhand if there are other versions, I guess possibly Lio Convoy, but I don't know if that's technically a different character than Optimus Prime because I don't follow Beast Wars Neo. Regardless, we are taking a look at Big Convoy, and Big Convoy is a woolly mammoth. And as far as I know, this guy comes in basically 3 different color schemes. There's this one, there's a blue and white one that's Ultra Magnus called Ultra Mammoth that I think was a Collector's Club figure, and then there's a black one that was Nemesis Convoy or Nemesis Prime. It's from Transformers Universe, I believe. And the only reason I know that is because I actually did some digging because I wanted to get the Nemesis Prime version of this guy, and I'm not spending close to $200 on that. So, yeah. So rather than go with what I think is probably the better color scheme, but far more expensive figure, going with regular old Big Convoy, and that's fine. It's the same figure, it's just different color scheme. And this color scheme's not bad. I mean, this is definitely more, I guess you could say, normal for a woolly mammoth, at least from what we know. Though the pupilless green eyes are a little bit kind of evil looking, despite this not being the evil version of the figure. So yeah, it's a mammoth, and it doesn't do anything because it's just a shell. Like, you can flip the tail up and look at it, and that really weird thing you can do where if you push the ears back, it does that. Though I do like this one, where if you pull this back, it lifts the trunk. So yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's not posable, it's a brick, but I don't really care. Really, when you think about it, a lot of alt modes that other Transformers have are not posable in the slightest. Like, you've got cars that the wheels roll and that's it, and then you've got planes or jets or spaceships, and if they have landing gear, that rolls. Otherwise, they're technically bricks too. So that doesn't really bother me. And for being what is basically a statue of a mammoth, it actually does look pretty good. You've got some obvious robot bits when you look at it from certain angles, but for the most part, it hides relatively well. And there's some really nice molding on here, like just all the individual hairs that have been molded in there. It's a really nice fur texture. And the ears, big old flappy ears, front and back. There are those evil eyes. And even some texture on the trunk, and a very tusk-like bone or horn texture on the tusks there. So yeah, they did a really good job with the molding, and I think the shape is good. It's even got that kind of woolly mammoth bulbous forehead thing going. The proportions, I think, are a little bit off. I don't think these legs are supposed to kind of come forward that much, but it's fine. And yeah, I mean, there's not much to it. It's a woolly mammoth, but not a bad-looking woolly mammoth, as I've said. And since the woolly mammoth is not technically a dinosaur, but it's from a really long time ago, here we've got Big Convoy with Slug and the amiibo there, and you can see it's a nicely sized mammoth. You know, it compacts really well. I mean, I've heard people say, and from what I've seen myself, I could tell that yes, it's true. You could pull all of the mammoth parts off and have a completely separate robot from the mammoth because it's just one big shell, and the robot's just kind of curled into a ball underneath. But again, it doesn't really bother me. We'll see it more in robot mode, but I think what Big Convoy does with his shell it's enough for me. I don't mind shell formers as long as the shell goes somewhere. Anywho's, that is it for the size comparisons. There's not a whole lot else to talk about with this guy in mammoth mode because it's, like I said, just a brick. A nicely sculpted brick. And the paint job's okay. I mean, I think the colors are fine. It's kind of weird how you got this line going across there with the lighter to darker fur. I imagine that was more to just add more visual interest, but doesn't seem all that necessary. Kind of makes it seem almost like either he waded through the mud and this part's dirty, or he has been dirty and waded through some water and this part's clean. It's just a little bit weird. But anyway, that is it for the Mammoth mode, so we're going to go straight to the robot mode, because we're not going to bother with that battle mode, because it's just kind of meh. So yeah, to the robot mode. Right, here we have Big Convoy in robot mode, and this is pretty cool, I have to say. I mean, I'm not huge into the transformation, though I do think it's okay for what it is. A lot of little panels, some stuff easy to pop off if you're not doing it in like a very specific order, but it's fine. And it's a really impressive looking Optimus Prime. There's no denying that. And I think, as I understand it, you can either have him like this with these bits in the front here facing forward as they are now, or you can kind of turn them down like that for, I guess, regular non-artillery mode. That also doesn't look bad, but I prefer it with the missile rack shoulder pads up. I don't care if that's how they normally go. That's just how I like it. One thing that's a shame, though, is the head on mine is very, very wobbly, which, I mean, I got it used, so stuff happens. More than anything, I'm disappointed with the fact that I tried to actually take the head off, and I just can't. Like, just the way it's on there, I can't really reliably take the head off to do anything to strengthen the ball joint in there. It just kind of stinks. I was able to strengthen the ball joints in a few other spots that were a bit loose, so at least there's that, but yeah. This Optimus Prime looks like a brawler. He just has that kind of physique about him. May have to do with the enormous muscular robo chest, I don't know. And it's a cool silhouette. I mean, yeah, you could pop virtually all the little panels off here and make your own Mammoth off to the side, but it still looks pretty darn cool. And I actually like how those panels kind of add to the robot mode. Yes, they are panels. I totally get that. Totally understand that frustration. And anyone who doesn't like panel forming, shell formers, whatever. Yeah, I get it. This isn't going to change anyone's mind. But for me, the way the panels line up on the robot mode, I think actually do help to beef him out even more. I mean, I already said I like the shoulder bits on top there, but I also like how all these other Mammoth bits just kind of, when you arrange them this way anyway, they kind of create this like extra little bit of baggage, I guess, coming off his legs there. It's almost like the billowing sides of a coat, even though he's not clearly not wearing a coat. But yeah, no, it works for me. You can also kind of see on the inside there, there's some molded technological bits too, which is an unnecessary detail, but nice. And these are molded in such a way that they actually fairly snugly fit right over the back of his calves there. It creates a nice kind of line for his silhouette there, and I'm very much into it. Color-wise, it's an interesting combination of colors. You've got this like very white here, and then this sort of bone white in a few places. Some red, some blue, because it's Optimus Prime, some silver, but then like this silver is a little bit bluish, and the arm has a bunch of translucent red plastic in it, so like the arms are asymmetrical, which doesn't really bother me, but it's like I'm not entirely sure what the design choice was, like why they made that design choice. Maybe it has to do with them preferring asymmetry in the Beast Wars Neo line, I don't know. Some nice molding though, and there's something about the way these calves are done that are just really neat looking calves. They're almost not necessarily Gundam-like, but it's just some really nice details in there. Very, very cool robot detail. He's got some really nice details all throughout. And the head is not the strongest part. I mean, it's not bad, it's just, for the most part, it's sort of typical Optimus Prime, with a little bit of a boxier head and like these horns sticking off to the sides, which I think the horns work and kind of fit with the whole Beast Wars thing, but it's just not a whole lot going on with the head that really stands out to me. But the rest of them, I think, is really, really interesting. And, of course, it's Optimus Prime, so Matrix. But I do like how this Matrix can actually, you can take it out and he can hold it. There's even some molded detail on the inside of the door there, and some painted detail on the inside of the Matrix chamber, some of which is actually behind the Matrix when it's in place, too. So, yeah, that's a fair bit of detail. I know I harp about Optimus Primes with Matrixes, but it's not the inclusion of the Matrix itself that bothers me. It's when they include a Matrix to the detriment of the figure. But the way that this Matrix is implemented, the way that it's just kind of, like tucked away in his chest, it doesn't sacrifice, I don't feel, the paint or color for any of the other parts of the toy. It's a detail that you don't even necessarily know is there unless you know to look for it, because it's actually hidden pretty well. He can hold it. I'm okay with this Matrix because, as I said, I don't feel like it actually sacrifices anything from the figure itself to exist, which is an unfortunate thing that a lot of other Optimus Primes do. But yeah, this is a very cool Optimus. You can also see little painted bits for the missile racks in there. This is a little bit disappointing to me because, I mean, he looks cool, and I really like the missile rack shoulder pads, and you know me and giant shoulder pads, but that red is very dark. It's a very almost maroon red, and it doesn't stand out very well with the brown. But anyway, yeah, just overall, very cool Optimus Prime. Truthfully, if they were to announce that they were doing a masterpiece version of Big Convoy, I would be on board with that, because it's just a really neat Optimus Prime design. And, of course, there is his gun that's made up of the rest of his Mammoth bits, and that's just a matter of, like you can see there's the bit that came off during transformation. And these panels here flip around, and there's no, like, as far as I know, you could do a bunch of different things with this. This is just how I do it, just to kind of get the panels out of the way a little bit. And it kind of shows off some of this mechanical detail on the side there that's also very nicely painted. And then you just flip down the handle, and it goes in his hand, and then he can't really hold it very well because it's very heavy. Actually, no, it's not so much that he can't hold it because it's heavy, it's just that because he can actually hold it. It's his elbow that's the problem. But, angle it up high enough and he can hold it. It's just that. But yeah, it's cool. And I can actually fit him on the shelf with this, which is nice. And you can store it on his back, but I kind of prefer having it in his hand because it's just, a big cannon. And actually, while I'm at it, let's pop this back out because I'm just going to have him how I normally have him on the shelf. Just big and imposing with his racks of missile spam at the ready, holding the Matrix because he just doesn't care. He will destroy a fool in short order. He's a pretty decent size, too. When all's said and done, I think he's about Voyager size. And then, of course, he's got the giant shoulders and the enormous cannon. He's not necessarily all that tall. He's definitely taller than a Deluxe, but he's very beefy. There's just a lot of mass to his robot mode. Yes, a lot of it's panels, but I don't care. Like I said, they flow nicely. And also, that gun is huge, which just amuses me. And I think that is about going to do it. Now, I will say I do have some of the missiles for this guy. He has missiles for the gun, and then there are these crescent-shaped missiles that go into these pods on his shins there. I don't have the gun missiles, which doesn't bother me in the slightest because I just don't care. I'm not really one for missiles. I do have the little crescent missiles, but I haven't been using them in the video because, well, first of all, they're really not important to the aesthetics of the figure, but also they're super annoying because they pop out at a moment's notice. It's like super difficult for me to get this guy into his Mammoth mode without those missiles popping out, and it's super difficult for me to transform him without those missiles popping out, so I was just like, screw it, leave him off to the side. So yeah, he's got missiles, but they're not important. Anyway, that's enough about what I think. So, what do you all think? Do any of you out there have any version of Big Convoy? And if you do, which one is your favorite color scheme? Because based on what I've seen, my personal favorite is Nemesis Prime. But like I said, that's expensive, and I can't bring myself to spend that much on an aftermarket figure of that size. And yeah, especially when there's another figure that's just as good. It's just a different color scheme for a much more affordable price. But as I was saying, which one is your favorite? Because I mean, Ultra Mammoth looks cool too, and I do think Big Convoy does look cool. It's just that brown is a little bit too dark in robot mode for like the missile spam on the shoulders. Other than that, it's fine. And is there anyone out there who just cannot get into this figure because of all the panels and the shell forming? Because I mean, I could totally understand that. That's your prerogative. Totally understandable if you're not into it or don't have the patience for it, because there's definitely some fiddly bits on this guy. And I'm also curious for anyone else who might have this figure, is that wobbly head an ongoing issue? Because I've seen videos of this guy in the past that he actually has a wobbly head in those videos as well. So I feel like it might be a universal issue with this guy that's kind of across the board, at least with the Big Convoy version of the mold. Just wondering. And also, if by chance anyone out there has had this problem and was actually able to fix it, by all means, please let me know, because that's just kind of annoying. I mean, it's fine once I get it set, and, you know, if he's on a shelf, I don't really have to worry about it, but it's just a little bit annoying that he's kind of a bobblehead. But whatever your thoughts, please feel free to comment down below. I always do enjoy hearing from you all. And while you're at it, also feel free to like or subscribe. Any combination of those three things would make me a happy Rob. And remember, art is more than meets the eye.